Hello, everyone. Yeah, so I currently work at Peterborough Museum. This is kind of a slideshow of the wonderful things we've found during a project to bring our archives up to a modern standard. Museums are repositories of our history and our heritage, but they're also a record of the development of archaeology and how we've developed, how our standards have increased, but also our perceptions around how we treat particularly human remains, which there's going to be a lot in this, but also objects and finds and material culture as well. So I kind of started with a quote from Alice Roberts. I was reading her book recently whilst procrastinating and not making this talk. And as I was reading it, I don't know, I had like the Benny Hill music in my head, where they're talking about people from long ago whose antiquity and miracle of preservation guarantees them sacred status. And something like 100 things in the collection suddenly popped up into my head, said they weren't treated like that in the past. They're kept in boxes in museums, new acid-free cardboard coffins. We've already seen examples where that's not the case, and we've got plenty. And then strange codes scrawled onto the outside of the boxes. Not always. There is a wonderful example of one of our latest archives where we finished bringing up to a modern standard. So let's start with the horror show of how it was. So I'll start with sacred status. This is an extract from some administration data. Saw at Cirencester on the evening of the 11th of the 4th, 81 in the bar of the Royal Agricultural College, the ensuing conversation on the matter of the stiffs. So how we talk about human remains has changed. Obviously, they're not being very respectful here. I don't think it would meet current ethical standards. And obviously the Department of Education will not overtly strain itself to look for them. They're talking about missing bodies. Whether they're still missing, I have no idea. The next one. This is from a site that was excavated in the 1970s. We can clearly see there are multiple distinct individuals. This is known as feature number 7. This is feature number 7. Feature number 7 is fully commingled. Nothing is marked. It's just loose in a box. Not just one box. It's actually spread across. I think we ended up with 4 boxes, and we kept finding bits in other boxes where they would have feature number 7, but not the individual they're related to. I'll flick back as well. Look at the long bones. They're all intact. Look at the long bones. They are smashed. This is another individual from the same site. Eagle-eyed among you would see they've got 2 right hands. Not possible. This was meant to have been one of our easy ones. It was meant to be skeleton number 36, just one skeleton. This would have been a nice one. They had 2 right hands. Who the other right hand belonged to, we have no idea. And just to add, there were 55 individuals from this site. Every single one is commingled. Nothing is marked. And even with skeleton 36, where we thought we had 1 individual, we now don't. How do we answer those questions? This is another site. This is a really important site as well. This is known as Autumn Meadows. It's a series of barrow monuments. So monument 97, as you can see, similar status. It's been thrown in a box. The bones are now damaged, broken. We have an unexcavated skull dumped in the corner. And as you can see on the top right, there's some sort of adhesive residue just spread across random bones. It doesn't even look like they were trying to do anything with these bones. It just dripped across. To juxtapose this, the history files of the museum are fantastic. There are pages upon pages of us battling with the British Museum over the material finds. All the while the human remains sat in a box like this. This is kind of abstract. This is a mouse nest in a skull. We don't have the mouse, and the box has not been bitten through. So the mouse was living in the skull before it was deposited. Treatment of human remains. This is another one we were working on recently. This is from 1987. We can see these are wonderfully recorded. Every single bone was given a small find number, prefixed with a B. This actually was really useful when we came to putting the bones back together. Everything was commingled once again, but the markings allowed us to put individuals back together. A lot of it wasn't washed. They'd marked over mud as well. But while we were cleaning the skull, we actually found small finds that they'd missed during the excavation, the 3 Anglo-Saxon beads. Smoking. This is a recurring thing. I didn't think we'd have this. Bottom right-hand corner. That is a burn from a cigarette butt that we then found within the bag. We are finding this across the archives. We have an entire site where everything is written on the back of tobacco tins or cigarette cards. We have plenty of tobacco tins as well, just like in Gail's example. We are currently trying to fix this, by the way. I'm just going to add that in there. This, though, is kind of horrifying. These are infant remains from Walter Newton. There are cigarette burns on the infant remains. So yeah, that's how we treat them. Sacred status. That doesn't seem to have been the case then. Acid-free cardboard coffins then. So how are we storing things in our collections? This is human remains from a prehistoric site. They attempted to lift it by pouring a mold over the top. When they came to remove it, if you can see in the recesses, it brought half the surface of the bone with it. So that was just lumped in a box. How do you deal with that? We don't know. So we've put it in a bag as a future problem. Toy boxes. This was really nostalgic. When I found this on a shelf, I had one of these, not full of human remains. Here we have human remains in a toy box. They are now properly packaged in modern archival quality and up to modern standards. This is one. It's not a jar of dirt, it's a jar of bones. This was a fantastic one. We were decanting the museum stores. We had some building works that had to happen. This pot had probably not left that shelf for about 50 years. And I look inside and there's human remains, which is kind of a recurring pattern throughout the work that we're doing. We open boxes and there's human remains. This, though, that is a heavy-duty yellow plastic bag full of human remains, burial furniture, all from a crypt. This was from 1999. So this isn't even part of those earlier 70s, 80s, 50s digs. This is post that initial set of standards. We also have human remains in Stuart tubs, which if you've read the SMA guidance on storing bone, that's a no-no. And again, matches. So we have plenty of these and tobacco tins. These, though, have faunal remains in. So we've got shell. Hundreds upon hundreds of these. And some other examples of things we've got. So hurdy-gurdy, California grapefruits. This was holding animal remains. Smedley's Jay's underwear. That had the cloths from a local abbot of the cathedral. And then RuneQuest, which is early Citadel miniatures. NVRC bird bones. Sites various were all mixed inside of there, including the paints they've been using to do the miniatures. Other things we've got. So the box here, it is one of our cardboard boxes, but inside everything has just been thrown in. Everything has been dumped. The original packaging is starting to fall apart, but luckily there is enough information that we can put everything back. And then, like with the tissues that Gail was mentioning, here we have some of the original co-op 2-ply tissues holding brooches. So strange codes. We have plenty of those. These are burials from Walter Newton. As you can see, I mean, I don't really need to add much to that. Burial 50, or 42, or 45, including part of skeleton A. And again, these are spread across boxes. How do we then fix this problem? We can't. They're completely commingled. Some boxes are just legs. How do we then put them back? We also have boxes like this. So Fengate was a humongous excavation. There's lots of subsites. So FNG 74, it's the year, but there were subsites within that: Padholm Road, Newark Road, Catswater. Box number 8 contained all of that bone. every last piece, down to the smallest fragment, was marked. We had multiple subsites, multiple areas within those subsites, multiple features and multiple contexts, and they didn't have a sequential context system. So we had to separate every last piece. And there's a tiny, tiny fragment that they managed to get the markings on. The really interesting thing about this site, though, is you actually need several of the monographs in the appendix. There is a conversion chart because the things they marked were not the things they published. We've kind of highlighted this recently. We had a researcher in looking at horse remains. The things that are in the publication do not even represent the things that are in the archive. We have a lot more material than the publication would suggest. It's a very confusing site, and it was even confusing to them. You can see the feature number. They're calling someone an idiot because they've had to correct it. We had lots of bags where they'd scribbled it out, no, no, no. Halfway through, they changed their numbering system, then they changed it back, and then they changed their mind again. We have this is fantastic. Finds data written onto the inside of boxes, which was then not found within the paperwork. But I'll end on this. Yeah. This was the nice brevity moment. It's not all doom and gloom. Sometimes standards make us a bit too stuffy. We have fantastic things from the collections where they've had fun. Obviously, revolting little small finds. This is my desktop wallpaper. I absolutely love it. But yeah, that was kind of just an examination of what it was like before standards, and hopefully we've grown and we're heading towards somewhere that's better than what they did. But maybe do add in some nice little notes for archivists and museum professionals of the future, because we love that. Yeah, thank you.